Hey guys, so wanted to do an updated video. It's been a while. A lot has changed. I'm not sure. Hopefully, you guys saw the Not Another Tech podcast with Nate Hutchinson that I was on, and we dug into CA Policy Analyzer and found out that day after that was released that I was also accepted into the Microsoft MVP program for security, specialized in identity and access management. And that is awesome. It has been an amazing wild ride. Things have gotten crazy hectic, lots going on, but my first love, conditional access and identity as a whole, hasn't changed. So the fun thing is now I'm an MVP. I do have my own five tenant that was given to me, and I'm working in there. And so one of the things I thought I'd do is deploy conditional access to it, and then use CA policy analyzer to go through and start optimizing things. But I wanted to take some recommendations that I got from Nate, and I really wanted to update the tool. And I've been extremely busy with things at Enforcer, but I've found some time to work on this. And I wanted to go through some of those updates. So one of the first things I wanted to point out is I built a site. Bought my own domain, conditionalaccess.tech. You can go to conditionalaccess.tech, and everything that I do is going to be kind of focused in around here. So you go to the site, you can connect to my LinkedIn, you can connect directly to the Save Policy Analyzer, GitHub, LinkedIn, also Enforcer, because of course I'm gonna promote Enforcer with everything I do. I love them; they're great. But inevitably, I want people to find the tools and the things that I'm working on to help out. And so CA Policy Analyzer is one of the things that I've built that I'm really working on trying to help the community out with. I've actually got some amazing feedback from people who are using it to do real world deployments, and it makes me so happy to hear the positive feedback. But a couple things I want to point out. So on my site, you're going to see CA Policy Analyzer. Don't forget that I did a lot of work around graph. And I think it goes kind of unnoticed. Sometimes people forget about this because I don't advertise it. I'm probably gonna do some post around this to really hype it up. But what I'm doing these days is it's less of how to with graph. I still have a link directly to the cheat sheet, which was basically me going through graph, trying to understand better how I did things within the Graph Explorer, controlling the Graph Explorer, what, when, wow, why, how. And so this does exist out there. Um, but what I want to remind people of is go back to here. Um, One of the things I've been doing is now creating graph breakdowns for all the tools and things that I've built to help, whether it's scripting certain things out. So take for instance, Admin Center. People all the time like, what should I do inside of Admin Center? So I've broken down the Admin Center settings that I would set, scripts on how to do this stuff. Really just best practice deep dives. And I'm going through every portion of the portal, and I'm doing this because there's things that we can't necessarily control. Purview is currently a passion of mine. I am watching every video of Yelena's trying to get better with Purview, understanding label taxonomy. So I've got my own label taxonomy that I've built out. I go through exactly how to build it. I provide scripts to build it. I have the prerequisite. So I have a prerequisite script. So you'll go back here and you can see that inside Purview, there's a sensitivity labels.PowerShell. I've got some documentation on exactly my label taxonomy versus Microsoft's to understand why I did certain things that I did. But in the end, I have a prerequisite script that's going to go through. You can run this. This is going to get all the prerequisites enabled for you. I talk about all of it inside the actual policy. I recently just built a DLP policy because I had someone ask me about this. They were like, how would you build this policy? So I went through and I tried to build it the way I would. And then I had it written out and scripted so that other people could use it if they wanted to. But inevitably, I want to have tons of documentation and understandings of why I'm doing the things I'm doing, because at the end of the day, that's really all it comes down to. We all do things differently, but if you have rationale and reasons for why you're doing the thing you're doing, then you can make an educated decision if you want to take that and apply it to what you're doing. I'm really proud, and I've started sharing this, some of the SharePoint stuff I'm currently working on. freaking awesome. So I'm aligning all the CIS policies and details around CIS. But what I'm really trying to do is build out a complete governance package. And all of this exists in this graph baseline documentation. So new setting just came out to control link sharing within the default. There's a great video. I have the video down at the bottom of this document, but it's just a whole lot of data around how to govern SharePoint better, how you should be doing things. Yeah, there's someone out here. Actually, maybe up at the top. I don't even know where my own stuff is. I just put it everywhere. I get everything in, and I'm just like, cool, there's old stuff. I think the actual links are up at the top. Yep. So right here, the YouTube on the SharePoint setting that I just uploaded recently. But at the end of the day, the idea is all of this is stored on my site. Intro news features, all of this is here. I've started a brand new blog that I'm going and I'm just doing it directly on the website. So I've got a 5-part series that I'm releasing right now on identity. We're just hit article 2 of the Identity is Everything series. I'm super proud of this series. I love it. And I was like, I want to release this with the site because it's just me in a nutshell. I love identity and I love talking about it, but I also love breaking it down to your everyday life because we practice identity every day. And it's just taking that and applying it to our digital lives. And so the idea is I'm breaking down identity into more everyday mentality kind of conversations. And I'm doing that across the board. I've also got another series on governance because governance has been a huge topic for me here recently. But it's all there. And then anytime I get in intra news, I'm posting it here just to keep a running tally of everything. It's basically just me playing around with the intra MCP server on the background. So I have that automated and it's going through. And then if the post gets done, it goes into a markdown file, which then updates this HTML. So kind of cool, playing around with it, really like it. Anyway, that's a lot. That's a lot. Back to the original point. CA Policy Analyzer. So, CA Policy Analyzer is the free conditional access policy tool. You can launch it directly from here. I have made some major changes. If you didn't catch Not Another Tech Podcast, hopefully you go and watch that episode with Nate Hutchinson. It was a great episode. Had some awesome conversations with the guys. There were 2 things that Nate pointed out, right? Nate works for ThreatScape. They are a huge conditional access advocate. They do a whole zero trust approach. They use Klaus Jefferson's persona-based conditional access deployment. And Nate asked for 2 things. He asked for, it'd be awesome to have a zero trust kind of mentality or scorecard in it. So I took the entire zero trust assessment and I paired that with Klaus Jefferson's persona-based, mechanisms, and I built it into the tool so we could take a look and have metrics around that. So the scorecard is leveraging the Microsoft Zero Trust scorecard. The pillars of that, which are verify explicitly, use least privilege, assume breach. And then it's taking that and it's applying it to the conditional access policies and how you're building out your conditional access. The other thing that we have is the persona-based Klaus Jefferson persona framework. So everything is now going back to a persona base. Now, I did not do a persona base. So this is what's cool for me is I can go back and I can look at my own policies and see where I'm lacking from a persona perspective, and I can fix that. And so that's what I'm doing. So one of the ways I am now doing that is if you look, I'm 93% in line. This is my brand new tenant with my template. Oh, that's great. I think I needed to do some updates, and I've been doing some updates. If you're ever curious about the updates, go to CA Policy Analyzer in GitHub, and you can see all the recent changes. We're going to talk through some of these, but I just updated the CIS tab to align to the V7 benchmarks, which just came out about a week ago. But other than that, I've been going through policies and really taking a look at everything. I realized that some of my guest policies were not optimal. And so I broke those out into a 2-tier guest policy. And I've done a ton of documentation on why you may want to do that. But outside of that, you'll see all of the new updates around persona, zero trust policy mapping, as well as the new templates that you can now use within GitHub. And so here's the new dashboard in the GitHub. You can see all that. You see the visual flows, any of the changes. The big changes are the gap analysis and the persona baseline. So these are going to be the major differences as far as what we have in the product itself and in the persona zero trust. So it all aligns back to that. And we now have the baseline gap, which I'll talk about this as well. So let me go back over into here. We got the new V7. Let's just show it off. So, case in point, the first thing we're going to come to is the templates. So if you did watch that or caught that episode, one of the things Nate said, right, is they wanted the ability to import their own templates. So what I built into the tool was a way to do that. It's directly built into GitHub. So the only thing you can do is you would have to put your conditional access policies into GitHub. And as long as they are in, it's what it's going to do is it's going to look for the JSON. It's going to look for something called conditional access. It's going to look for a number of things. It's going to try to detect conditional access when it's in it. So what you can do is you can take your own and just put the repo in and load it, and it'll load out. So obviously I have my John Hope, I've got my foundation, my baseline, my app specific, Intune device, P2 identity, all that, the way I did my framework. But then what I've done is I've preloaded some persona-based frameworks. So two that just came to mind, right? Because Klaus isn't updating his persona-based stuff anymore, right? Like that's been kind of hasn't been maintained for a while. I don't have Threatscapes. I wish I had all Threatscapes policies and 160 of them, but those aren't readily available, right? They do that as an initiative. But there are some community-based frameworks that are available. So the two big ones that I always think about are Kenneth Van Cirksum and Joey Verlinden. And so what you can do here is I clicked on Joey's. So this is going to link back to Joey's GitHub. It's built into it and all his policies will pull through. So as he's updating this, it should just pull in and directly update. But what it's doing is it's taking his role, so his admin-based persona. So if you look at the way he breaks his down, he has his global policies in his persona framework. He's got global identity policies. And then he's got his admin. So he's got that persona base, right? So he's got specific admin, specific internals or employees. He's got externals, so his guest policies. And then he's got his corporate service account and his workload identities. And so what it does is it breaks them all out. And so what it's doing is it's checking against mine, going, oh, interesting. You have something that matches it 100% based on what you're looking for here. So it's analyzing those policies. But then it's saying there's some partial things or there's some missing things, right? So that's great. All great stuff to understand how we're doing it. But that's where baseline gaps come in. So baseline gaps is really the idea of, okay, we're analyzing your policies, but then we're also looking at the template that you're currently using. So I've switched it to Joey's. So it's using Joey's template. So you can see that like I'm looking at his persona-based framework. It's also then still analyzing mine. So I have some AVD policies in there. It doesn't know how to classify those because those don't fall into any of these frameworks, right? So that's what these unclassified become. But basically what's happening now is it's going, well, interesting. We see some things that are similar to this, but they're not quite that. But at the end of the day, so there's 14 with drift, there's 6 that are in the tenant only, 15 in the template, or 34 in the template. So inevitably, there's essentially about 15 policies, I would say, case in point, that just aren't there. The tenant. So what you can do is we can download the bundle, and what's going to happen here is it's going to give me the bundle of policies that I'm missing completely. And so I can go in. So you can see here, we've got 3, 5, so the ones we can get all of these in line with everything. So it's downloading. So I have each of those individual JSONs by the policy. So I don't have them in mine, but Joey has them in his. I could put these in place. I could get them completely in alignment, right? So it's something I'm working through because I want to get closer to the persona-based thing, but I still like my framework that I originally built. So I'm going through and I'm testing and I'm updating some of mine to basically get in line with some of the persona-based frameworks. So that's just a little initiative I'm working from. But ideally, what can happen is if you want to just align to Kenneth Van Cirksum or Joey V's repositories, you could just go into templates. You can go ahead and select one. Like, see, this is Joey's. I can go back to default and I can compare. I can bring in Kenneth's. So if I click on Kenneth's, going to do the same thing. It's going to load that in. Looks like it just loaded it in. Yep, 49 policies. There's some groups that are missing, but you've got his admins, externals. We've got some unclassified. These look like his device-based ones that just didn't classify correctly. He has a lot of device-based ones. And so some of the classifications are still off, right? Because he doesn't follow the exact persona-based framework. So it's going to be a little different, but it groups them by type. So we've got all of his unclassified. We can go through his. And then inevitably we can do the same thing and we can break him down based on his framework. He's going to have a lot more, it looks like, yeah, there's going to be a lot more policies that are going to be broken out. It breaks them all out by type, and we can use that. So Joey's is probably the closer to Klaus's framework as far as the personas go. But yeah, other things there, CIS. Don't know if you caught this on the overview. Let me go back to the overview, but I did just do the entire CIS v7 alignment. So if you look at the updated README, as of yesterday, these things have all been upgraded, and there were some changes inside the framework. So I went through and I reviewed all of the changes. All the changes have been updated. A lot of them have new numbering, so all the numbers decided to change. So that's great. And so these are all aligned now to the new CIS framework. Obviously, I'm not currently compliant on all of them. So I need to get some of these updated, which I will. At the end of the day, there's some that are missing. And then what I also noticed was this one, I actually had to update the logic on this one because this was grabbing incorrect logic. So I do have a policy that meets this 100%. I'm using the app enforced restriction, which is the way CIS actually recommends you do that. And so, yeah, this is all been updated to meet that. And the personas. The new personas is basically, this is taking Klaus Jefferson's exactly the way it is, right? And it's breaking each of them down into, okay, what are the policies that we should have for the individual global, the admin level privileges. So you can see here, I'm missing some of these within the admin portion of it. So this is where I'm going to use some of Joey's to try to get this full persona-based framework built, but with my naming schematics and some of the ways I do my policies. So looking through all these, you can go in and look, okay, yep, I've got block legacy country codes. Yep, I've got the two that meet that. So they're present, right? These are great. So I'm meeting the global policies that we need. I'm missing about 13 policies today. So there's some admin ones that I'm missing. I believe this one is there, but it's in report only, which makes sense. So I am probably actually 100% on this one. And then my guest B2B, which actually I should have the two guest policies. They're just in report only. Guest admins, external privileges, developers, corporate service accounts, workload identities, and 365 service accounts. So I need to get all these controls updated. I will work on that. But again, the framework's there now. Everything's in place to help you. And one of the cool things that I did is I've really been updating the documentation and working on this. So case in point, the updated PowerPoint documentation. I still love Merrill's tool. I still love the visuals of his. I'm not going to be able to, I'm not going to copy that. We're not going to do, that. I think his is great for if you want a really visual walkthrough. The idea is I wanted to be able to still document all the policies, but also put some of the findings on each policy, put the status of the policy where we're at, right? So you'll see this is still very similar to kind of Merrill's documentation walkthrough. The idea is just to provide some additional data, make sure you can see break glass excluded on every account, right? So I can quickly see break glass, all policies, they're good. Now, where it starts to get a little different is at the end of this presentation. So what I have now added is the zero trust scorecard into the PowerPoint documentation. So we've got a full PowerPoint persona coverage. We can look at the zero trust framework portion, and it's going to break it down by each one with the policies, the ones that are missing, the ones that are there. And then at the end of it, CIS alignment. So you're going to get the CIS score. It's going to have all the policies, everything that we're looking for there. And the idea would be that we're hopefully trying to get to 100% of that, right? So yeah, this is what the documentation looks like. I will say what I have found recently, working with actual clients, is two components that have been really helpful. Are these two exploits. So for clients that are just like, hey, can you look at my conditional access policy? Sure. I don't want a PowerPoint. Give me the Excel breakdown. So I'll take the Excel. They'll export the Excel. I'll take the Excel. I actually built a new skill that uses all the knowledge and everything from the tool, but then it's kind of like a helper component in Claude. So I can throw the Excel in there, it reviews everything, and then spits it out in a more digestible way for me to then quickly evaluate and go through all the policies. Super useful. And then the JSON is just amazing because it gives me every policy in JSON format. So say, for instance, there's a policy they asked me to troubleshoot or look at a little closer. I can just rebuild that policy in my tenant real quick, take a look at it. So all three of these documentations are super crucial to being able to maintain and troubleshoot conditional access effectively. So I'm really loving the updates, guys. I hope you do too. I wanted to put this video together just to kind of let you know all the things I'm working on. There's so much coming. I'm hoping to get more posts out about the graph stuff I'm doing, the best practices I'm working on, but I'm hoping more people will log in, start using CA Policy Analyzer, because the more people that are using it, the little caveats that you guys find, it's great. Send it. I love constructive criticism, and I'm trying my best to update it. It's just me working on it behind the scenes. So, the more people testing it, the more little things they find. They're like, I don't necessarily agree with that. And the whole idea is to build something that the community is getting behind, that they're like, man, I really love this, right? Like that's what has happened with Maester. And look at how valuable Maester's become. I want to see this become one of those go-to tools for conditional access deployments that I think will benefit the entire industry. And that's really my goal here. So try it out. Let me know your feedback. I hope to bring more updates to it, but for now, this is gonna be it for a little while, because I do have a very busy schedule coming in the next month or two. But hope to get back on it and talk to you guys soon. All right, guys. Later.